I've been going crazy. Can't wait to get in my zone. Sometimes I can't find your number, and there's no one else to call. You leave me waiting by the phone. You keep me high, that's for sure. But I know you'll be there when I need you. I can't place no one above you. I tried, but I can't get enough of your love. And you're right there for me. Said I was just hoping you call. I was just hoping you call to say that you don't have nothing at all. I was just hoping you call. They try and try but can't top ya. Think they come close but they fall. They see me out, give me offers. I don't feel nothing at all. But I know you'll be there when I need you. I can't place no one above you. I tried, but I can't get enough of your love. And you're right there for me. Said I was just hoping you call. I was just hoping you call to say that you don't have nothing at all. I was just hoping you call. Sweet.
What's going on, family? It's your boy Seven Fig. Oh, look, camera is tweaking. Let's see if we can get this camera fixed. Guess not. So we may be without the camera for this session, but it's all good. Welcome to the weekly outlook. It's your boy Seven Figure Trader. I'm gonna try to get this camera fixed here for you. But in the meantime, right, welcome to the session. This is our weekly outlook session. This is where we go ahead and we just look at, basically the market, do a quick analysis. We're not worried about getting in any trade, so it's a little bit more educational in which that we're able to do. And I'm not sure what's going on here. Give me 1 second to see if I can get this camera fixed. There we go. There we go. There we go. So as I said, we'll just do some quick markups. It's definitely a much slower session. Give us some time to ask some questions about what we have and look at in the market. We can look at some additional pairs. But basically what we're going to be doing is just looking at some possible setups or some possible areas of interest over that we may see over here in the week that we're going to be targeting on our live trading sessions. So this is going to be good for you guys to have marked up on your charts as well. So then if you are trading on your own, or let's just say, you may be trading on a day where I don't have a session, you still have my analysis marked up for yourself. So, quick outlook here at BTC. So we looked at last week when we did our weekly. So last week on Sunday, we looked at, we said we knew that Bitcoin had this downtrend here on the daily. We were looking to see what happens when we came to this area. So looking just at that downtrend, we did have a rejection, right? Whole bunch of wicks. We took some buys, we took some sells, right? Ultimately, the sells are the ones that made the biggest move. So we did break this uptrend here, right? And we did go ahead on the daily, right? We're looking at the daily chart. So we did not have a time in which we broke this daily trend line, right? We did have this day right here that did close above, which was on Thursday, and then Friday is when we got the hard rejection to the downside, right? So that went ahead on our higher time frame. The trend line was the one that held up. We had our 4 hour, and then we had our daily, purple being 4 hour, orange being daily. So our daily downtrend did go ahead and hold. We are in our first area of support, or our first accumulation zone here for Bitcoin, meaning that this is the area where I would be buying some Bitcoin. So I did purchase some Bitcoin here. I did purchase some Bitcoin while we were in this zone. Um, this is going to be it's a very small zone, right? So it's a small zone. So it does have a possibility of still dropping. So if we do drop, I'm looking for the next area of interest. It's going to be between 75, let's just say 76,000 and 71.6. So, right, it's a 5,000 pips. So it's a pretty wide zone here, right? Where we can come down here. Where's my arrows? We can come down here and just kind of consolidate in here, right? And then we could see possible breakout to the upside, or we could see a rejection to the downside from this area. But right, we haven't really came back and tested this area. And if we're looking at, right, let's just go ahead and make this a box, right? Because we're pretty much saying that this area right here is support. And if we look left, right, this is right on the top of the zone where we had BTC come and sit at this price for a while. It's set up here from from March all the way here until October, right? Bitcoin really kind of set at this high. So we're coming back and we're testing this high, right? Looking to find that support. So that's the area in which that we're looking for Bitcoin to possibly go to, right? If not, basically what Bitcoin has to do is, right, we have not closed below this area. We have had some close here. So this is Monday's candle, correct? Yep. So this is Monday's candle. So we could see is pushes down here, and then we could see some immediate buys out of this area to come back and test this downtrend throughout the week. And then we would have to wait to see if we do come here and break. Go ahead, delete this. So from here, we can come here and test. And then from here, we could break, or we could potentially reject, and then come down here to this area. And then, like I said, this is going to be, it's a 5,000 pip zone, right? So that means they could come all the way down to 72,000 and then just shoot up from here, right? So anything in between that 76 and that 71.5, let's call it 76 and 71.5, is going to be that accumulation zone for us to get BTC. They can come down here wick, right? We can have like one wick and then it shoot right up out of here and then break this downtrend line. That's typically how the moves that we see with Bitcoin. So that's ultimately what I'm interested in seeing here. So we'll even just throw on some alerts here. We go down to a lower time frame. Throw on some alerts just here, just in case. Right. And then if we do come here, I want to be notified, right? This isn't me coming saying, hey, I want to buy, but I do want to be notified if for whatever reason we do get an impulse and we break above this area. Then, like I said, I know we're going to retest this downtrend line. So that's going to be for BTC, right? So I hope you guys have these support zones marked up for BTC, and we'll throw some more support zones on here as well. So we know that this is support. We know that this area right here is support. So let's go ahead and mark up too as well some of the downtrends excuse me, or some of the areas of resistance. And so when we're identifying highs and lows, right? So I could say, hey, right here, we have a high, and then right here we have a low. Let me turn this off. There we go. Right here we have a low. The issue being with that is that we've already, what you want to see is that has this closed below this low. So this candle is still open, right? It's 2 hours left, so technically we have not closed below this low. But if we do close below this low is now no longer valid. So we will want to be looking at, the bigger move of, say, from here to then this new low that's created. But since we don't have it, we can only go off of the data that's here. All right, so then this will be another area of resistance. Right? And so your areas of resistance potentially too, right? So let's just say you guys are using this data and you're like, yo, seven, well, how am I supposed to, know where to take profits at? I kind of know what the areas I'm looking to buy, right? But that's going to be your resistance area. If I was just trading strictly off of this data, let's say I was taking buys out of this zone, right? Looking to trade out, right? TP1, TP2, right? That would be how I'd be looking at it. My areas of resistance are going to be the areas in which that I'm looking to take profit because those are the areas in which I'm looking for price to have a reaction at these areas. Right. So if that makes sense to you so far, family, right? Because I just don't want to be on here talking to you guys, right? I want to make sure that we're understanding. So if that makes sense, drop a 3 in the chat. If that makes sense that we're going to take profit at the areas of resistance, drop a 3 in the chat. Fantastic, fantastic. So right, so we're buying at levels of support, take profits at areas of resistance. That's all essentially we're doing when we're trading in the market, right? We're trading from zone to zone, and we're buying in areas of support, we're selling in areas of resistance, and then at the opposite ends, we're looking to take profits. Very, very simple. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can find your areas of support. So let's go ahead and let's throw on the BAZ indicator, right? So the BAZ indicator is if you are someone who, haven't really defined a way to find areas of support, you can use the BAZ indicator. This will help you. Now, the thing to remember is that on the different time frames, it's going to give you different areas of support. So, right, so remember we're looking at the weekly. So let's go to the daily. So on the daily, the indicator's not seeing support until we reach 68,000. So we see on the 4 hour though, the 4 hour, which is where we did these markups, right? We see that it has support, a lot of support here at these two areas, right? In which that we're looking for it to kind of come and break. And then the next area of a bass block is down here right near that 76,000. It's actually 76.4 that it has the area support. So right, so let's remember that these are areas. These aren't exact, but these are potential areas in which we're looking for a reaction of price. That's how I look at it. I don't say, hey, at 76,000, I'm gonna just buy BTC on Novus, right? It's saying, hey, when it gets down here to 76,000, let me see how price is reacting because I know that this is an area in which that we're looking for a reaction. So am I going to see a bounce, right? Am I going to see a bounce or am I going to see a break, right? So that's why I look for those. And then for you guys, if you guys have not already, let me go ahead and drop this for you. Give me 1 second here. If you guys have not already, I do go over. Women. I do go over breakouts, retest, and rejections on my YouTube channel where we have our strategy training. I do the strategy trainings every Monday. So tomorrow will be part three of the strategy training series where we go over how exactly I mark up the markets. And then, but the beginning session or session one did go over breakouts, rejection, and retest. So if that is something that you feel like you may need additional assistance with understanding, I recommend checking out that video. But we will be starting the series over. Like I said, we'll be doing part three tomorrow. And then the week after, we take a 1 week break. And then the week after that, we'll start back over with part one for the beginners. So, right, go watch the video. And then if you do have questions on the next beginner session, make sure you're there. And then you can get those questions answered for you live, family. But let's move on, right? So that's what we see for BTC, right? What we're kind of looking for. Now for ETH, right? Let's get some of this. Too much stuff on the chart, right? Let's get some of this stuff going. Right, I clean my charts up each week. Right, when we come and mark up stuff, I like to clean it. The only thing I may keep right is if I have something from like a higher time frame. But for the most part, I'm gonna start over each week with just a fresh chart because the data changes. So as the data changes, right, we had this area here, mark of support. It's blown through that, so that's no longer valid. So it's no longer needed to be on my chart. Right, that's just how I think about it. So first thing let's do, we like to find our trend line, right? Let's see, do we have a trend line that ETH is still following, right? So we're looking at some of the lows here from 2022, actually. We can get it to get down to the right level. All right, let's see. Nope, we really broke this whole trend, right? And this is gonna make this orange. So then we know that this is a representation from the day trend, right? So we came here and we really broke this downtrend. Sometimes you gotta zoom in so you can get the right markings. There we go. So yeah, so we have our 3 points of contact. Boom, right here, and then right here. So we saw that it touched this June 2022, December 2022, October 2023, right? So we really have not tested this trend line in almost 2 years. So we understood that this was a price that was, pretty strong, right? Pretty strong. Let's see if we can see if this extends. Sometimes what I like to do is come here and I'll make the extend left. Boom. Right? Because I just want to see. We also touch over here. Not quite. Not quite. We didn't touch. It looked like it touched when we zoomed out. Right? That's why sometimes you got to zoom in so you can get close and see. So we did have these three touches. We haven't tested this area or this trend in over 2 years or about 2 years. We came through and broke this trend. So now we understand overall, right? Overall, now we can say that Ethereum is in a downtrend because we broke the trend from 2022. So understanding that it's a downtrend now, right, does not mean that we're going into a bearish markets overall for crypto, but we could see some bearish moves from ETH to turn extend left off. There we go. Boom. Right. That's really going to be our downtrend line. This is based off of us hitting the high in December 2024. It was tested again January 2025. And we haven't really tested it since January. We've been operating below this trend line. So now understanding that, we understand that we're working off of this segment or this fragment of the market in which we're looking for for ETH to give us some pullbacks. And it kind of did. We got the initial break here, came down, we came back near, and then rejection. All right. Excuse me. So first, let's see here. What is going to be our low? I would say this is probably going to be our low that we're working off of. Let's see. So if we take it from there to the high, again, you may have to zoom in sometimes to get this. There we go. Actually, we're going to go back. So we're currently in this zone right here for this accumulation working off this low. So this is a buy area or accumulation zone. But we are right here at the bottom of it. So we already have kind of had this break and close. All right, we came down here, see we wicked it a bunch. And then now we've kind of gotten that break. So we're looking like we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So since we're looking to dive deeper than this low right here that we're working off of, now we have to look, right? And it could be easier for us to go to a higher time frame to see it. Right now we're going to work off of this low and see work the whole move. All right, so this will be our low. Boom. Because we really just blew past that. So just gonna move our down here. All right, and this is going to be working off of this low now. So this is the whole move. This is the low from June 2022. So basically, if we lose this area on ETH, right, we are looking at a full reset because the low then after that it's going to be a low from 2020 of March, back when ETH was at $50. So let me say this, right? This may be some of the best price that you see ETH at, right? Just understand, hear me out. ETH has a lot of utility, a lot of things built on the ETH network. Now, everything is down right now, from stocks to crypto. The only things that are not out, that are not down, are currently are metals. And to so you guys understand a little bit more, let me see if I can find a diagram for you guys. But it's called the flow of money, right? Called the flow of money from asset to asset, right? So when you're going through, um, see, what is this? Now they don't. I don't have a diagram offhand. I can show you guys, but right. But how I like to look at it is, I like to look at stocks, crypto, bonds, gold. So typically, when stocks are down, excuse me, we see the money liquidate, right? We just seen Warren Buffett liquidate SPX, which is the one thing that he's known for. He's been holding XPX for probably longer than I've been alive, right? That's what he's known for, is that he beats the market consistently by mostly investing in SPX. And SPX has outpaced the market, year over year for the last 20, 30 years. He just liquidated. So right, one of this time's best investors has just exited a large portion or a large position on SPX. What did we see thereafter? We saw that people are invested in crypto through the stock markets and what we call ETFs. There's Bitcoin ETFs, there's Ethereum ETFs. So we saw a large liquidation of Bitcoin ETFs as well. So people are liquidating these assets, right? Whenever someone liquidates the asset, understand that now it becomes a taxable income. Wealthy people do not like to pay taxes. So therefore, if they're liquidating these assets, they feel that it's time to take profit. It's time to pull out of these asset classes and move my money elsewhere. So where are people moving it? We pay attention to the markets. So we know exactly where the money is flowing. Bitcoin is down, stocks is down, metals are up. Prior to the establishment of the foreign exchange system, we exchanged money, or your value of your money, your country's money was determined by how much gold your country had in reserves. So we moved away from that system. We moved to the foreign exchange system that we use currently. But you have, right, for the first time ever, you have a new system that's out, right? The BRIC system. Brazil, India, China, excuse me, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, right? BRICS. So a lot of people are uncertain with the current infrastructure that we have. So they're pulling money out of stocks, they're pulling money out of Bitcoin, and they're putting it where they feel like it's going to be most secure. Gold is an accepted currency around the world. You can go anywhere and you can exchange gold for currency. So right, so that's what I want you guys to understand when we marking up these charts and we're seeing these different things, right? All of it fits into a bigger picture. So I want you guys to be aware of the picture that's being painted so you can capitalize. With that being said, right, I think that ETH, this is some of the best prices that we can get ETH. My optimal entries to accumulate ETH are between 1700 and 1400. Right, that $300 window or 3000 pip window is going to be the best time or the best prices that we can accumulate some Ethereum. After that, if it does break down, right? If it does break down, then right, it could potentially go back to 50, which is just another opportunity to get in. If we're doing what's called dollar cost averaging, right? Dollar cost averaging. If anyone can tell me the definition of dollar cost averaging, I have something for you, right? Drop it in the chat. But if we're dollar cost averaging into our portfolio, then we never worry about getting in at bad positions because we're never just dumping all of our money into the market. But yeah, if someone could tell me what dollar cost averaging is, I got some for you. Maybe you'll get some Ethereum. Alfred, that's close. Was close. Not quite though. Look, and the thing is, I'm gonna have to put a time limit on it because somebody's gonna Google it. Somebody's going to Google it. But I'll give y'all a couple more seconds for that answer. But let's go ahead and look and see some areas of potential resistance that we could see, right? All right, cool. Now we see here we have. All right, let's see what the BAS indicator has for us. I forgot to mark up this area resistance. Um, so it has support right below where I just put it. Then it also has two support lines, excuse me, two BAS blocks in this buy area, right? Showing that again, this is going to be some great opportunities to buy or accumulate in your portfolio, right? And this is on the daily. Then it has the Bass block or the breaker block, excuse me, up here, which is going to be that resistance that lines up right where we kind of see our previous uptrend, right? To certify, right, that this is, and I wanted to actually go here to the monthly really quickly. I just want to see if so look on the monthly, whew, this uptrend line is valid on the monthly too as well. Coming here, June, July, wicked it, December 2022. Right. So this is the first time. But right, it's March. How many days we got left in March? 1 day? We got 1 day left in March. What would be crazy is if this turns all the way, right? But right, this is a monthly candle. But that's exactly what could potentially happen. All it has to go is to go to like this area right here, and then this would have wicked on the monthly candle. So that's why I'm gonna leave it there because I really want to see how this monthly close because this is such a big area, right? I actually need to make this joint like red or something. Yeah, so I know this is such a big area for this. I just really want to see now that we've broken this uptrend line, what Ethereum really does. Like I said, it's probably going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of buy pressure in this vicinity of Ethereum. And then, like I said, I would be taking TPs 2040, 2380, right? Check the chat real quick. Always buying every day, no matter the price. No, Nadia, that sound Googled. I'm not gonna lie. Your answer sounds Googled. Alfred, I do like Alfred said, instead of worrying about your entry, you buying consistently while price drops. Gwen said, instead of worrying about entry, you buy consistently. That okay, so that must have been the Googled one because y'all got the exact same verbiage. So it is somewhat right where you're not worrying about the entry price, but more than anything, the important part that I want you guys to take away from dollar cost averaging is that you're just buying portions over time. I'm not going and say, hey, I have $1,000. Let me go dump all $1,000 into Ethereum today. I can say, hey, I want to accumulate $200 of Ethereum, right, for the next 5 weeks. So then I'm just buying it, right, every 5 weeks. Or right, if you're coming in and you're more precise with it, then you know, hey, between 1700 and 1400, I want to go ahead and I'm gonna buy, right? When it gets down here to the 1700 level, I'm gonna buy 20%. Then when it gets down here to the 1550 level, I'm gonna buy some more. And then if it doesn't come down here and it comes back up, I'm gonna buy some more at 1700. So it's just you putting money into the market either based off of a time basis. You can do it every time you're getting paid. You can do it based off of price, but it's just basically where you have a strategy in which that you're going to be putting money in the market over time. And let's say, hey, you be like, yo, Seven, I got $1,000. I want to invest it in crypto, but I don't want to hold on to it because I'm afraid I'm gonna spend it. You can go and you can buy stable coins, right? USDT, USDC. So this is going to be giving you your money in crypto. So when you are ready to go ahead and purchase, all you have to do is exchange your stable coin for whatever crypto you're trying to get. I was like, why still not keep without having to worry about the money that you have waiting decreasing in value. If that makes sense, if that makes sense, drop a five in the chat. Alfred, yeah, I realized that yours wasn't Google now because everyone else. Wow, look, maybe Gwen copied yours there. Maybe Gwen copied yours there. So I think Nadia definition probably was the closest. She dropped it first. So right, so Nadia, make sure you DM me in circle after this, right? Hey, look, I look. In college, we used to say, look, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So look, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you, Quinn. Ain't spend all this money to come to class to feel me to fail off pride. But all right, cool. So that where we got Ethereum at. If you guys have any questions over BTC and Ethereum, let me know. Otherwise, we'll continue going through. Right. Let me go ahead. Let's take a look at XRP. We got a lot of stuff on this XRP chart. Let's go ahead and start cleaning this stuff up. Turn off the Rand broke through this area of support, broke this uptrend line. Guessing this is off of this. Yep, off of that low from down here. I don't know why this circle made it so big. But yeah, this is the low that we're working off of. Is this low right here where we see it came down, dipped, came up here to this high, right? And then, but this high outdid this high, and we've already broken this low. So this is why we're working from this low to this high. I want to explain it to you guys why what we looking at and why we looking at it. We actually can come in and be a little bit more precise. Go. Just like to be a little bit more precise, and we'll move this here. So this is our first buy area based off of our low from November 2024 with Ripple, right? If we knock out this low, right, then we will be looking at our next low, which would be all the way down here. Let's see if we can get clean markup. So these are going to be, right, we're looking for Ripple to potentially come down to this area and then make a decision from here, right? What it wants to do. If it does come down and breaks below, right, then we may see it do something like this before diving back down. See if we can find a downtrend. That's the downtrend we're kind of playing off of. We've seen it as rejected here multiple times now here. It came up and it broke, but it immediately went back under. And we see it come up tested here and then again here, right? So pretty valid downtrend line. We've seen that it's been tested and respected. So we will potentially be looking for, right? Like I said, looking to come down to this area, $1.80 to $1.60 is going to be my accumulation zone for XRP. Again, right? When I'm saying accumulation, I'm talking about adding some to your portfolio. When we day trade it, right, Tuesday through Thursdays, this is what we'll be looking for. Kind of what we're just doing now is looking at, okay, if we do get to come up here, right, we're looking for some potential sales from up there, Or right later this week, if we do sell down, then we're looking for some potential buys out of this area. So right, so that's all we're kind of really doing is making sure that we understand where we are in the cycle, right, and where our zones are of interest throughout this week, which just is just it's just going to kind of make it a little bit easier for us to be able to distinguish or to be able to come into the market and identify where we're at. No, I mean, Gwen, your answer was close, right? You and Alfred's answer was close. Buying at intervals at the same amount each time, which is your average. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a strategy in which that we're entering the market buying at multiple prices. So I was gonna say, depending on how advanced or um how diligent the strategy can be, someone could say, hey, I'm going to invest 20% here and I'm going to invest 80% down here. So it may not potentially be the same amount as far as their dollar cost averaging, but it's just for me having a strategy in which I'm entering the market in intervals, right? Dollar cost averaging specifically, right, that strategy of dollar cost averaging is going to be in regards to, yes, entering the same amounts of money in the market over time, though, right, for dollar cost averaging. But for well, I'm just talking about as far as entering the market as well, just have some type of strategy. Dollar cost averaging, though, yes, you're going to be taking, say, like, if you're taking similar to a 401k, right? 401ks are the easy example of dollar cost averaging. Dollar with your 401k at your job, you may be putting in 3%, right? 3% per paycheck. So each paycheck, you're putting 3% into the markets. Stocks are going to be at different prices at that time, but each time you're throwing more money into your 401k, which is then is putting money into the stock market. All right, let's move on to Solana. Solana has just been dropping like crazy. Yeah, nice strong trend line. I think we could clean it up a little bit though. Let's see if we come down for these from these tops. We would have broke the trend already. If we come from here, we really broke this trend. I was like, which is fine, right? That means whenever we break a trend, that there's an opportunity that's coming, right? So with this broken downtrend now, right, that means that we have potential for an uptrend. So right, so this was something I would be looking at for potential buys. And this is on the daily, so it's going to be this is more like a swing trade. First area right there. We'll be working off of this high first to this low. Something like this. 3330. But this is why I usually be having music playing in the background because I'll be zoned out, just be quiet. But yeah, so this is something that a potential setup that I would be looking for Solana, right? Looking as we just broke this downtrend, so then we'll be looking at a retrace from this high, right, to this low. Right. So basically, what I'm looking at is looking for Solana to come up here, break this price, find support to see it continue on to possibly hit this level right here, which is based off this high. This will be that sell level. If we do take out this level, then we will be looking to come back off of this high over here, right, to then hit this level. And then if that level's broke, then we will be playing off of this high for TP3, right? So we'll see what Solana is doing, and then we can come over here and we're looking for support. This will be our support level. So still has some room for it that it can go down. But right, we're basically looking for right something similar to this, right? Or we're looking for it to take off from here. But that's what I'm looking for on Solana. So let me see here. And right now, Solana, we're working on the lows from 2024. These were pretty much all the lows of 2024. So, right, if we're taking out these lows right here, then, right, we will be coming back to test the highs of the previous. So, right, these are pretty much the highs that we're testing. If we break down there, then again, right, our next buy area is down here, which is then, now coming back to the lows. And this is the low from 2024. This is a high from 2023. So we're testing the high of 2023. And we've seen like, and this is what's funny because somebody asked me about Bitcoin. It was like, hey, if Bitcoin drops and it goes back down to 70,000, right? I'm like, that's still a healthy retrace. That doesn't necessarily mean like Bitcoin is done, but like, that's how the market and CNN will make you like to think. But Solana is the perfect example. Solana hit 250, went back down to $12 to then be back at 250 in January 2025. It was 2023, it was $14. So just to, and like I said, I can see Solana going back down to 70, $40, and I still would be able to say this is a healthy retrace. Now, again, what can happen is we can come down here to these areas, and then what happens is then panic starts to set in, right? You start to see propaganda on the news. Bitcoin is dying, crypto's down, crypto wasn't here to last. We told you, hey, all that crypto stuff wasn't going to work, right? You get all of that. That's the first thing that's going to come, and then it may send the market to dip a little bit lower, right? So then what happens? Get all the retail traders get wiped out. So then the billionaires and everyone else can come in, buy up, accumulate more of it, shake all the retail traders out before it goes off and rockets on to hit, all-time new highs. Because like I said, we really just hit, Solana hasn't even hit an all-time new high since 2021. 2021, we were at 265. 2025, we hit almost 300, but it didn't even stay there. We closed back at 260, right? It shot up and then immediately came back and it closed at 260. So we haven't even had a Solana that's closed above an all-time new high since 2022. but there was still plenty of opportunities and money to be made. So let me know, for me, what did we learn from tonight's session in regards to the crypto market, right? If you learned one thing, what would it be? Drop it in the chat. Just market cycles in general. I just want to know, for me, who's really tapped in, right? Who's actually taking something from these calls? And we're gonna look at stocks too very quickly, very quickly. We got 9 minutes left in the call. But I just want to know, right? What's one thing that you've learned from today's session? And while y'all do that, let's go ahead and look at Nas. Nas, we talked about last Sunday, right? Where we at last Sunday? We were right around here, right around here. We marked up some areas, right? I said, hey, this is a pivot area. This is an area in which price has to make a decision and we're having resistance. So what we do, we rejected off of this area. This was TP1. This was TP2, TP3, TP4, right? We marked up all these areas of support and it blew right through all of these, right? Crazy sell off. But if you guys hadn't marked up from last week, regardless of any signals that went out or anything else, you guys wouldn't have been able to follow the market and kind of know what was going on because literally we set it up, right? Those was one of those things like, hey, I'm looking for major rejection in the market next week because we're very close to this area of resistance and this pivot zone. It's really ugly downtrend because we don't have really enough touches. Let me see. Queen, how to set and take profit based off of support and resistance. Gwen, not to pay attention to the press when crypto drops as not something to be in. You hear that all the time. No, facts. Like I said, they pump fear into the market. So yeah, but we only have two touches, right, with this trend. So it's not a very strong trend. This is not something you really want to base any trades off of, right? This is just, again, this is just all the data we currently have. So what we would really need is for Nas to come back up, rejected a third time, something like this, in order to validate this downtrend line. Excuse me. So if we're looking for basically looking for what low are we going to play off of. This is the low that we're looking at. Coming back to this high. So this is going to be our next area of support. We did have a uptrend line, right? That was based off of here that did break. So we have really no uptrend to go off of. We have this base. So we still have just a lot of room to drop. Excuse me. And we just have a lot of room to drop here. See NAS potentially going back down to the 18,300 area to 17,900. This is going to be more stocks. So if you are someone, right, with stocks in your portfolio, right, this is potentially time for you to add some more stocks or for this, excuse me, indice. Add some more positions in for this indice. It's based off of the low from, was not the low of 2024, but it's based on a low from 2024 in August. See, the low of 2024. Yeah, the low of 2024 would be April, right? April and August had the lows. So we're going back testing the lows from the previous year. So we have that SPX. A lot of stuff going on here. Let's clean it up a little bit. Go. Oh, sorry. Look. All right, so we really broke this zone or this area right here off this low. So this low is no longer valid. So we will be looking to see what's our next low that we're playing off of. Broke this uptrend that we were following. I'm gonna go to a higher time frame because we just had a lot of chop, and I wanted to be able to clearly identify the low that we were going to be working off of. So I would say it's probably going to be about this low. This will be the next low, which then will put our area of support right about here. Go back down to the daily just so we can kind of see. So this was marked up based off of, like I said, August last year as well. Excuse me. So I have a little bit cleaner markup there, or we may see SPX come here, kind of consolidate in between these zones for a little while. Still a lot of money that could potentially be made, but in case it breaks, right? We already know, like, hey, if it breaks this area right here, we already know that it's going to this area, right? So we know which way it's going up, but I want to know, hey, if we go down, where are we potentially going? So we marked it off of, it said this low. I also want to mark it off of this low. So I have that second area to go off as well. So if we break down into low, so basically what I feel like if we break down into this level, right, this is going to then negate this level of support. Then I'll be looking to trade down to this lower area right here for SPX. And look at that. We're right on time, family. Right. So we got about 60 seconds left in the session. Right. We just got through all our markups. So we marked up BTC, ETH, XRP, Solana, NAS 100, and SPX. We know what areas that we're looking for as far as area of supports going into this next week. We understand that, right, where we are as far as in the market, we've broken the uptrends for a lot of what we were looking at. Um, which one was it? For Ethereum, right? We broke this. This was a uptrend line that had been, valid for years, almost 2 years. So, right. So very interested to see what the market does with Ethereum. But we're kind of in the same position overall, right? We're at some areas of support, except for NAS. We have some more room to drop on NAS, but potentially we're at some areas of support where we could see some buys throughout this week to then go back and test these highs. And again, right, it could be consolidating on a larger time frame, but we're still able to make money because these zones are thousands of pips big. So we could just be consolidating from the bottom to the top until it decides to break out. And then once it decides to break out, then we can kind of say, hey, we're heading to, we're going to test lows from previous years, or we're going back and we're retesting previous highs. So, right, I greatly appreciate everyone for who hopped on the session today. This session will also be available on YouTube if you guys do want to go back and review anything, or if you do know someone who is not able to make the session today. As always, I greatly appreciate you guys. We will be back tomorrow for the strategy training. If again, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're not able to make that call, again, that call also will be available on my YouTube after tomorrow evening. So again, greatly appreciate everyone. You guys go ahead and enjoy your night, and peace be with you.